ALS is a neuromuscular disease. I typically describe it in layman's term as the opposite of Alzheimer's disease, and that the brain is the one thing that remains working, while the remainder of every muscle in every body is no longer able to be used. You can no longer walk, talk, or move your hands by the end of the disease cycle.
ALS stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. ALS is actually a fairly little known disease. It's considered a rare disease here in the United States. About one person every 90 minutes is diagnosed, and unfortunately what the disease does is it gradually paralyzes the body's muscle movements. One of the things about ALS is there is currently no treatment and there is no cure.
The first change I noticed was her hand. So she works in orthodontics, so she couldn't grip the instruments, so she had trouble closing her hand. So it essentially started in her right hand, and it just slowly progressed through there.
How did Donna take the diagnosis? She was quite upset and was hoping that it was something lesser than that, like trigger finger or a ruptured tendon. Two of the diagnoses were for those two things. And so when we had saw two neurologists, then the second one confirmed that it was ALS, and she took that quite hard.
You know, it's funny, the night that she was diagnosed, I have actually a picture of it on my cell phone. It was pretty cool. We did a 5-minute plank challenge, so an ab workout, and she was just diagnosed with this terminal disease, and she's still doing the 5-minute plank challenge with us. So she handled it very well. I think she had her down moments, but she kept it all very positive around myself and then my, at the time, 2-year-old son. I know quite a bit about ALS. I witnessed my aunt go through it when she was in her mid-40s, so I was 16, and then seeing my mom go through it. It just, I mean, it pretty much is, you're a prisoner in your own body, that you can't speak, you can't communicate whatsoever, you can't move. You end up not being able to breathe, not being able to swallow, and that's what eventually usually kills those people.
We found out about my mom's diagnosis. We weren't necessarily surprised because she had already, her hands were starting to already decrease. So my aunts had it, my uncles had it, my grandpas had it, my great-grandpas had it. So we kind of already knew essentially what it was.
I would say she, probably was extremely serious. I think she probably compartmentalized her mind, you know, that when she was around family and grandkids, you know, she seemed to be able to totally adjust her attitude, you know, away from that. But, you know, you could tell that it was, you know, she had that on her mind. Probably things that she was going to be missing.
Her attitude stayed pretty positive, at least around my son and I. It stayed very positive around us. She'd have her emotional breakdown times, but it usually wasn't for us. That was when other people would come over and they would be emotional, but she held it together very well. And I think she, I don't know if she was playing with us, but she had a lot of hope through all of the trial and error things that we went through to help find a cure for this disease. When I first found out about her diagnosis, I actually had a lot of hope. My dad and I did a lot of research before she was officially diagnosed, and there's a lot of positive stuff out there in the alternative community that I truthfully believe that there could be a cure for it if we could just raise the money to do it. Unfortunately, she had the genetic form, which I think is a little bit harder to slow down and help cure.
He did a big fundraiser back in September where there were over 800, 900 people that actually came to support her. It was during the time of the Ice Bucket Challenge, so people were actually aware of what the disease was. Before that, nobody knew what ALS was. So it was a good support, and it definitely raised awareness in the heartland of, you know, somebody local that had it that needed help.
We had more silent auction donations than everybody said that they've never seen a fundraiser with so many silent auction items. We had entertainment, we had bands there, we had a DJ. It was honestly, it was more of a celebration and a party than a somber experience.
We also did a GoFundMe page where if somebody wasn't able to make it to the fundraiser, they were able to donate money towards it, and all of that money that was raised went towards my mom getting her stem cell treatments in California, as well as their natural type medicine stuff that they went over to Switzerland for a couple months.
Well, with the fundraiser, they did a spaghetti dinner. Again, my daughters were the ones that put it on. My wife and I went ahead and got on a plane 2 or 3 weeks before that and headed off to Switzerland. There was a doctor that had some success dealing with people that had been diagnosed with ALS or ALS type diseases, neuromuscular diseases. So I really wasn't at the fundraiser, and I really couldn't tell you a lot about that outside of everything that I heard, that a lot of people showed up, and it was very successful. And if you're talking about traditional medicine, there isn't anything for ALS. They don't know anything about it. They're doing a lot of research on it. So again, everything that we did was alternative medicine. We tried working with getting the mercury, which is what people call silver fillings, out of her mouth. She had eight silver fillings in her mouth, and that was some of the treatment that we went through over in Switzerland. We did go to California, and we did stem cell treatments out there. Again, that was all out of our pocket expense, because there's nothing that traditional medicine can do.
The resource we used most was ALS of the Heartland. They provided equipment such as chairs to help out around the house, a small wheelchair, so it was a little bit easier for transportation, things that would keep her wrist elevated so it wasn't dropping down all the time, because that would cause her a lot of pain. Things that would help her button her shirt when she couldn't use her fingers anymore, that sort of stuff. That was probably the biggest resource.
Okay. When she passed away, how did I feel? Mixed emotions. We had talked about it from the time she went in there and told the staff down there. We went to hospice to get her wings, and she basically was able to walk in the doors, assisted. We really ended up putting her into a wheelchair and rolled her in, but we told her that she would be flying out, and when she got her wings, and we were all very happy for her, sad for us that we were losing her, but we would not have wanted to have her be around one more day in that body that was failing her tremendously.
It was a long journey for her. She was in hospice for 20 days, so we knew it was coming, but it was good for her. She was done.
Since she's passed, we've been keeping really busy. We've had another baby, and so we've had plenty of things to keep our mind off of it, but our whole life kind of consumed of taking care of her and being with her over the course of the last year. So we've had a lot more free time, but we've also had some hard times just missing her and having her not around to call and talk to and visit with.
Well, if you would have asked me that 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and that all of a sudden happened, it'd be one thing. But over the last year, it was a pretty high, well, I'd say probably over the last 6 months, it was a lot of caregiving, and there's some relief when somebody needs a lot of caregiving. and them going, but you miss them tremendously because that's your best friend. You just have to go through the stages of grieving, and I know the goal is to get to acceptance as quickly as possible, or not necessarily as quickly as possible, but to get there. It's just a process that you go through, and I'm only about 9 or 10 weeks into it now, so I think I'm doing pretty good. But I do miss her a lot, and always will. And
life has been really different. We before she passed away, we spent a lot of time with her, and we took care of her, and then all of a sudden she's not here, so we have a lot of time, and we think about her a lot, we talk about her a lot. So it's different, definitely different, and it will be for a long time.
Hi, I'm Mac.
Hi, I'm Mac.
And my Nana lives
In the town.
because what was wrong with Nana when she lived here on Earth?
Who was sick?
She was sick. But in the clouds,
Yeah.
she's not sick anymore.
No.
And is she always watching us?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
we can see her, but her can see us.
Yep, we can't see her, but she can see us, and she's making sure we're not doing anything naughty, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she'll send you presents from the clouds, doesn't she? Do you miss Nana?
Yeah.
And you love
Her
Nana?
don't follow.
Yeah. Does she slide down the rainbow?
Yeah.
And what does she do in the clouds?
Yeah.
What does she do?
Slide down the rainbows.
She slides down rainbows. Does she dance?
Yeah.
And she jumps?
Yeah.
And she runs and walks. She's all better up there, isn't she? Yeah.
And her to walk all by herself.
And she can walk all by herself. And you said today she can move her arms all by herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. ALS is just a horrible disease that you wouldn't wish upon anybody. It's kind of like just being a prisoner in your own body. And I really don't, there's just no one that you would ever want to see go through it, or especially love any of your loved ones. You just wouldn't want them to be going through that. What do we say to Nana at night?
Yeah.
Good night, Nana.
Good night, Nana.
We love you.
We love you.
We miss you.
We miss you.
Yeah.